Good evening from New York. I am Melissa Harris Perry. President Obama offered some pretty helpful advice to Rick No Relation Perry. He said, this isn't like running for governor, running for senator, running for Congress, and you've got to be a little more careful about what you say. Pretty easy to understand. When you're running for president, you're being recorded, recounted, and fact-checked. No statement you make will go unvetted by both media and the voters. This morning in New Hampshire, Governor, be clear, No Relation Perry responded to the president.
You know, yesterday, President said I needed to watch what I say. I just want to respond back, if I may. Mr. President, actions speak louder than words. My actions as governor are helping create jobs in this country. The president's actions are killing jobs in this country.
So let's be clear. The governor claims to be creating jobs, in contrast to the president. This, in fact, is Rick No Relation Perry's marquee claim for why he should be the Republican nominee and ultimately the president. Here he is touting his job records today.
Some people dismiss Texas job creation. There have been some over on the left that said the fact is that those 40% of the jobs created in America since the 9th of June, since the June of 2009 was just luck. Well, Mr. President, America's crisis is not bad luck. It's bad policies from Washington, D.C. Jobs come by keeping taxes low, by controlling spending, by reforming tort laws and ensuring that regulations are fair and predictable.
Now, since Mr. No Relation Perry is running for president and not for governor or, say, dog catcher, his claim about job creation in Texas is being rightfully scrutinized by national media. And it doesn't quite add up. First, a professorial moment here. Jobs created isn't the same as net job creation. The American economy has created more than 2 million jobs since the recession. But the unemployment rate in the country is still over 9%. So let's look at Texas's net job creation during the economic downturn. According to U.S. News and World Report, since 2008, net job creation in Texas is plus 0.7%. Now, plus is better than minus, but that is modest net job creation. And it makes sense considering that the current unemployment rate in Texas is 8.2%, slightly lower than the national rate. But in terms of state unemployment, Texas ranks 26th in the nation. Still, Texas has managed to create more jobs than it lost during a bad economy. And Texas has added a net 75,000 jobs since 2008. Where did those jobs come from? The private sector in Texas shed 40,000 jobs. But the government added 115,000 jobs. Presto! Net job creation. Federal government jobs increased 7%. Now, those might be military jobs or NASA jobs in Texas. State government jobs increased 8.4%, and local government jobs increased another 6%. So it's true. Jobs were created in Texas, but not through the formula that Rick, be clear again, No Relation Perry is pushing. Lower taxes did not lead to net job creation in Texas. Cutting spending did not lead to net job creation in Texas. Tort reform, that did not lead to net job creation in Texas. Less regulation did not lead to net job creation in Texas. What did lead to net job creation in Texas? Government hiring. Remember back in February 2009 when President Obama signed the Recovery Act and how on tax day that year, Governor Perry made a big show of railing against the stimulus, even saying that Texas might want to secede from the union at a Tea Party rally in Austin. Now, it turns out that Texas has ultimately accepted about $17 billion in federal stimulus dollars, according to the Texas Tribune, including money funding projects this year. So perhaps Mr. No Relation Perry is right. And what's been good for jobs in Texas would, in fact, be good for jobs nationally. More stimulus. Joining me now is Texas State Representative Mark Strama, a Democrat who represents one of my favorite cities in Texas, Austin. Nice to have you with us tonight.
Hi, Melissa, and I want to make it clear that though we bear a passing resemblance, I'm not related to him either.
Very good. Neither one of us are related to Governor Perry. Now, you've been in Texas politics for some time. You were even, there under Governor Richards and really know this state. Are you surprised by the numbers that I just read on government hiring? Does that fit with what you've seen on the ground in Texas and in your district?
Well, I can tell you this. One of my great fears about the economy over the next 24 months in Texas is that government layoffs are going to cause our unemployment rate to go up significantly. That's a fear I have about the national economy, but it's an especially acute fear here because of the budget cuts that we enacted in this last session and the budget shortfall we continue to face going into the next budget cycle.
So tell me a little bit about that, because I know that part of the story here is exactly how Washington helped to fill that hole so that the rainy day fund didn't have to be touched. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about why this concern about those cuts is emerging most, voraciously this year, or most ferociously?
Well, we have an incoherent story about this rainy day fund. Governor Perry will campaign across the country saying we didn't touch the rainy day fund, we left $6 billion in it. Now that opens him up to the charge that we left $6 billion in the rainy day fund while cutting $5 billion from public education, a cut that makes no sense at all if you're really concerned about long-term economic viability, a cut that makes no sense at all unless you think for some reason that the children of Texas are overeducated. But even worse is the fact that it's not actually true that we left $6 billion in the rainy day fund, because we deliberately underfunded Medicaid by $5 billion, knowing that we were going to backstop that deficit with the rainy day fund when we come back into the next legislative session. So it's a cloak and mirrors budget. It's exactly the kind of thing, frankly, that Tea Partiers claim they hate. But we were as guilty of it. This entirely Tea Party-controlled Texas legislature was as guilty of it as any legislature in the country over the last 6 months.
So, Robert Ostrama, though, riddle me this, because what I keep hearing is the reason that Texas has done so well is because of its energy reserves, that it has a set of natural resources that buoy its economy and mean that Texas will not have to experience the same sort of downturn. But these data tell me that it's government spending, and you're telling me that it has to do with these decisions being made at the legislative level. So how are we to understand what Governor Perry is or is not doing to leverage those natural resources?
Well, let's talk about Governor Perry's claim. He claims that we have great job growth because he's governor. During 2 of the years that he's claiming all this success, I have to say I was chairman of the Committee on Economic Development. I'd like to tell you it was because I was chairman of the Committee on Economic Development. But the truth is neither the wisdom of our governors nor the brilliance of our legislators over time are what track the ups and downs in the Texas economy. Over time, the single variable that tracks most closely to the ups and downs in our economy is the price of oil. And in the year that Governor Perry likes to point at, when we created more jobs than the rest of the country combined, oil reached $146 a barrel. Now, $4 a gallon gasoline was brutal on consumers, but $146 a barrel oil was great for the state of Texas's economy. And so that's clearly a factor. Now, the other thing to point out is Governor Perry's claim is identical to George W. Bush's claim. His claim is that tort reform, low taxes, and lack of regulation is the reason our economy is thriving. Again, there's no evidence that that's what's causing our jobs to grow. And the other final point is that we are doing no better than any of the surrounding states. In fact, if you take this point about natural resources driving some of the economic growth, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, the states that border us, all have lower unemployment rates than the state of Texas. So
tell me this on our final question here. Most of the rest of the country is just getting to know Governor Perry, and you've already given the whole country in a few moments a great deal of insight in what it means to have been in his Texas and working with him. What should we know about this governor? What is the bottom line on Mr. No Relation Perry?
Well, I think that the clips that you played at the beginning of the broadcast tell you everything you need to know. This is a guy who, when he is put under the spotlight, doesn't back down, he steps up. He's always done that. When he was accused, and he is still under this accusation, we may never know, of executing an innocent man, he actually disbanded the Forensic Science Commission that was trying to find out whether it was true or not. That's a pretty audacious move. When he's under a political challenge in a campaign, he's not above saying that the opponent that he's running against is responsible for the deaths of police officers because he's operating a sanctuary city. I mean, the guy is capable of some pretty audacious politics, and frankly, everybody needs to be... these are serious times, and the country's got serious choices to make in the upcoming election. That said, for those of us who are political junkies, it is time to get your popcorn out, because he is going to be entertaining to watch.
Texas State Representative Mark Strama, I truly appreciate it. Texas, Austin hosts one of the greatest universities in the country. Keep representing them well.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.